Hey guys, welcome to my Talk Wrestling Reviews. I am your host, Boyze, and this is the Raw after Mania. It's the most unpredictable Raw of the year. You don't know who's returning, who's getting called up. It's just chaotic and fun and exciting. With this all said and done, let's have a look at it. Let's hit the music. This is Smack Talk Wrestling's Raw Review. So we kicked off the show with the new Universal Champion, none other than Seth freaking Rollins, and he talked about his match at Mania against Brock Lesnar and stated, look, I was beaten, I was broken, but I still got up and I defeated the Beast. I slayed the Beast. And he talks about how, you know, he had to do it. He had to bring down the Beast, and it was a hell of a promo. And it was made even better when he was interrupted by the new WWE Champion Kofi Kingston and the New Day. Big E and Xavier Woods was with him. Just absolutely fun. You had everyone go mental once Big E started doing the intro. Oh, New York! That was just awesome. Everyone enjoyed it. Then Kofi put on a challenge to Seth freaking Rollins. I think we all expected a huge challenger, but we were not expecting this, and it was fantastic. Kofi comes out and goes, you know what, watching Becky Lynch's match, let's be honest, winner takes all. Sounds good to me. So why not? Why don't we do it, Seth? Now that would absolutely be brilliant. You know, a match like that, a champion versus champion. You don't often get to see them, only usually at Survivor Series, but you know, winner takes all type of match, just absolutely exciting. You know, it was always that, how are they gonna beat, how are they gonna do this? Because let's be honest, how are they gonna make sure Kofi Kingston and, you know, Seth Rollins both retain their titles, yet put heat on someone or do something like that? And it was exciting to see how they would have done it. But the excitement and the build for all out the night was the main event. Winner takes all, Universal Champion versus WWE Champion. Great start to the show, absolutely friggin' loved it. Big E was fantastic, Xavier was brilliant, Kofi was absolutely killing it, and Seth Rollins worked the crowd perfectly, and he just made the match even more exciting and built it up really well. So for me, I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5. Next up, we had a rematch from WrestleMania. We saw the Revival taking on Zack Ryder and Curt Hawkins for the Raw Tag Team Champions. Interesting this, because let's be honest, I thought we got rid of straight away, you know, rematch clauses in the contracts. But no, it seemed we had a rematch, and it was a damn good match. It was entertaining. The Revival just showing exactly why they're one of the best tag teams in the world, and showing the exact chemistry which makes them, you know, talked about in that realistic form of being one of the best in the world. And they were enjoyable. They played the crowd perfectly, and it's great to see a heel team like the Revival. But it will be interesting to see if they do get moved next week to SmackDown Live, because that's my hint. I reckon the Revival will be moved to SmackDown Live, and maybe someone like the Bar will be moved back from SmackDown to Raw. We'll have to wait and see. But the match itself was a good, decent match. Zack Ryder and Curt Hawkins both did a fantastic job playing the babyface roles, where they were fantastic in the match itself as well. Zack Ryder as well holding on to his title. That's right, Zack Ryder and Curt Hawkins. Hawkins winning the match where there was a mistake. They thought Zack Ryder was the man who was the legal man. He wasn't. It was actually Hawkins, because he tagged himself in. The Revival made a mistake. Hawkins got a quick pin, and Hawkins and Ryder retain the Raw Tag Team Championships. Really good match. Hawkins getting a win again. That completely destroys the streak now of losing, which is awesome. And always good, and extra bonus, Zack Ryder, the Mania after, you know, the Raw after Mania, retaining the title he'd won, which is always a big bonus for me. So I'm going to give this a 2.5 out of 5. Next up, we had an interesting part of the show where we had Baron Corbin come out, and he was celebrating his huge victory over Kurt Angle, the Olympic gold medalist. And he goes, I beat him, I destroyed him. He's the one who challenged me. I accepted it. I did exactly what I said I would do. And he was taunting the crowd over the victory. People were chanting arsehole to him, which is always good. And he goes, that's a compliment to me, so keep chanting it if you want. Then he was interrupted by the man he beat at WrestleMania, Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle, awesome little swerve here. He tells Corbin he has a big future and wishes him all the luck. Bad luck, and ankle slam, ankle lock. Corbin gets out of the ring, and next thing we know, Lars Sullivan arrives out of nowhere. After a couple of months ago when we saw the vignettes of him turning up to either Raw or SmackDown, I mean, obviously the news he had a panic attack, he disappeared for a while. It's good to see Lars Sullivan on TV. If you haven't seen him on NXT, expect some interesting matches. The guy is not just a big muscle head, he is very, very intelligent in the ring as well. He comes out, he destroys Kurt Angle in very little time, giving huge heat to a new heel superstar on WWE. And I'm going to give props. One, it was fantastic, a good swerve. I was not expecting to see Lars Sullivan at this stage, and Kurt Angle either. They made up for, Kurt losing at Mania to Corbin anyway, with allowing Corbin to get his ass whooped by Kurt Angle on his last appearance on Raw for some time, I reckon. So for me, I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5. Just enjoyable section of the show. Next up, we had an interesting match where we saw Alexa Bliss versus Bayley. Now, Alexa cut a fantastic promo. I always say this, Alexa Bliss is absolutely fantastic on the mic. She's probably, for me, one of the best female talkers in the company, and she really showed it. She's talked about Bayley and Sasha Banks losing the Women's Tag Team Championship and stated, I challenge both. Whoever comes out first, I will fight. And Bayley comes out. I was kind of glad it was Bayley. Bayley is a hard worker, and it's good to see. And this is the first singles match Alexa Bliss has had in some time, and it was a hell of a match. Alexa Bliss took a lot of bumps. I think this was more to show the audience, look, I can take these big bumps and my health issues, which everyone I think was quite concerned about for some time because she hasn't really competed. She took them, she did really well. It was a basic match. I'm not going to say it was anything too special between two superstars, but it was basic enough to show Alexa Bliss and rebuild Alexa Bliss. Let's be honest, with Becky Lynch now being the Raw and SmackDown Women's Champion, we need competitors, and Alexa Bliss is one of those superstars who has history with Becky Lynch, who would make fans interested to see her challenging for the Raw Tag Team title because she hasn't held it for some time, and let's be honest, it would be good to see. So for me, I'm going to give this a 2.5 out of 5. Alexa did beat Bayley, and it was a solid performance from both superstars. Next up, we had the man herself, Becky Lynch, and she was celebrating her victory over Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair for both the SmackDown and Raw Women's Championship. This for me was actually really entertaining. Becky cut a fantastic promo. The crowd was still in 100% the man mode, where they were just they were singing her intro music, and even she said, I didn't have anything but a sweet intro music which you guys were singing, and I loved that because everyone started singing it. The Raw After Mania crowd is always the most mental crowd. I think it has to go them, then Canada, then us over here in the UK. We are I think when it's those type of shows, that's when the crowd is most like crazy. I think that's when the crowd really take over the show, and Becky loved it. Becky Lynch absolutely killed it with a fantastic promo stating she realises every woman on both rosters now are aiming for her because she is the man on every show, and she's ready to take on everyone. She's about to leave, she's walking up, and she was interrupted by Lacey Evans. Lacey Evans doing that stupid thing where she walks down the aisle, but this time, instead of just walking up, walking back down, she walks up, she gives a stare down to Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch just smiles at her, and Lacey Evans gives her the women's right, which is her finishing move. Didn't put Becky away, so that's interesting. Becky and her get into a quick brawl. Lacey Evans holds her own in this, which is interesting to see. So could Lacey Evans be another one to be a number one contender? Again, they stated there's no... after next week with the Superstar shake-up,
we'll find out exactly where Lacey Evans, Heavy Machinery, Nikki Cross and all those lot are going to fit on the rosters, so they will be given permanent roster spots. I think Ricochet and Aleister Black are also in that category now as well. But yeah, Lacey Evans did well, but Becky Lynch got the better of her, and the security and referees came out and pulled both women across. I really enjoyed this segment. Becky looked like a badass, her promo was fantastic, and it actually gave Lacey Evans something to do, which is always good. So for me, I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5. Good, great to see Becky Lynch as the man. Next up, we probably had one of the best matches of the night, where we saw Ricochet and Aleister Black taking on Chad Gable and Bobby Roode. I've got to give these guys some credit. Bobby Roode and Chad Gable are one of the best tag teams on Raw right now, and they held their own to a team like Aleister Black and Ricochet, who are, let's be honest, one of the fan favourites right now. But it was a hell of a match. It looked like Chad Gable and Bobby Roode could have won a surprise victory, but they were very intense. Both Bobby Roode and Chad Gable coming out very, very, very strict and wanting to brawl, it seemed. But it was just a hard-hitting match. It's just a shame that at this point on the show, the crowd kind of tried to take over. They didn't seem too interested, which is a shame. Like I say, these are two of the best teams you can see on the Raw Tag Team division right now, and no one seemed to really care about this match. But for me, I actually really enjoyed it. I think it was one of the better matches of the night, like I stated, and Aleister Black and Ricochet did get the victory. There were so many close pinfalls in this match as well, which was good to see. But like I stated, Ricochet and Aleister Black did win. But afterwards, Bobby Roode attacked Ricochet, got his tag team partner out of the ring. Could we finally see a Bobby Roode heel turn coming up? Him and Chad Gable both turning heel would be good. Chad Gable kind of had a good little heel run when he was with Shelton Benjamin on SmackDown Live, so I know he can do it. And we all know Bobby Roode, when he was in NXT and as NXT champion, he was brilliant as a heel, and the crowd absolutely loved him for that. I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5. I know a lot of people will go, oh, how can you give it that score? Mainly because I actually watched the match and I thought it was really good for a Raw After Mania match. So, like I stated, a 3 out of 5. So we had Dean Ambrose's last match in WWE, and this was against Bobby Lashley. Dean came straight out, the crowd loved it. Very interesting, Michael Cole mentioned that Renee Young was married to Dean. It's unkept secret, but they really didn't talk about it. It was kind of hinted at, for a couple of months after their marriage, but it was never said on TV until today. But yeah, Renee was like, it's unbelievable, I can't believe he's actually leaving. I think this was an interesting way to send Dean off. I know a lot of people are like, is it a work, is it not a work? I do not know, guys. Straight away I thought this was a work. Dean's never going to leave WWE. He's a WWE guy for me. And then it got closer and closer, and I was like, he's going to leave. He's definitely leaving now, and that's a bit of a shame. His match didn't even get started against Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley cuts a promo against Dean, says, don't worry Dean, I'll look after you. I'll look after your wife Renee Young for you while you're gone. And Dean just loses it. They get into a brawl all around the ring. It looks like Dean hits the Dirty Deeds. Michael Cole gets it wrong straight away, calls it just a DDT. I was like, no, that's Dirty Deeds. Michael up at top of the stage. Dean's about clearing off the table. Bobby Lashley hits him with the spear and puts him through the table as well. Renee Young goes running straight away. She's panicked. She's worried about Dean. And for me, this seems like a build-up for a feud. Could we see like a shock return for Dean Ambrose next week, where he comes out of the crowd and attacks Bobby Lashley, and he's like a free agent who's attacking Bobby Lashley and building up a feud like that? Would be interesting to see how that goes. I'm hoping this is a work now, guys. I really want Dean Ambrose to stay. Yes, he was my favourite member of The Shield back in the day, and yes, he's still one of my favourite wrestlers. But I just want him to stay because I think he's just one of the best. I really enjoyed this. We definitely see Dean versus Bobby Lashley? I hope we do. I hope this is a way that it's like, you know, like a swerve for us. So for me, I'm going to give this a 2.5 out of 5, mainly because there could be a build-up to a good feud. Next up, we had another return for WWE where we saw Sami Zayn return. Interesting. I wasn't too happy with this because Michael Cole announced Sami Zayn's return when they showed a backstage of him walking down to the ring. And then it went to advertisement. I just wish instead of showing him walking to the ring, they just had his music hit. He comes down and then he makes a challenge to someone. Instead of, oh, here's a big announcement. And then like, oh, you know, you spoiled the surprise, guys. Come on, you could have made it even better. But yeah, Sami came out. He slipped, by the way. He damn well slipped on TV. They didn't show that on the replay, which is a shame. He did slip coming out of the entrance. He made his way down. He talked about his time off, that he was travelling and everything, and then he put a challenge out to everyone because he was ready for a fight. No one came out for a while, and then Finn Balor's music hit. Finn Balor comes down. Finn, before the match starts, says to the referee, let's turn this into an Intercontinental Championship match. Makes the crowd go mental. I was like, oh, there's no way they're going to do a 24-hour title change, are there? Could we see it? Could we see Sami Zayn finally get his first singles title in WWE main roster? The match itself was decent. Sami did look a little rusty, but apart from that, both men were just absolutely professional. I loved the match. Yeah, for me, this was the best match of the night because there was so many close calls. Finn missed his finisher, which made me go straight away, oh my god, Sami's going to hit. He's going to hit, he's going to hit, he's going to finish it, he's going to finish this match. And then what happens? None other than the picture disappears. Thank you, Sky, for that. It reappears just after Sami hits his finisher. He misses, Finn hits the coup de grace, and my god, Finn Balor retains the Intercontinental Championship. But what a match. And then after the match, Sami Zayn cuts a hell of a promo, turns straight away back to heel. Interesting that while we've got Kevin Owens on SmackDown Live as a babyface right now, we now know that Sami Zayn is going to be a heel, possibly on Raw, which would be good. And hopefully we could see a feud between Finn Balor and Sami Zayn build up, because that match was a hell of a way to start off their feud. Because after the match, Sami just talked about how it's a toxic, you know, atmosphere in WWE, but it's not backstage, it's not the wrestlers, it's us, the WWE Universe. We create this toxic, and I thought it was a great little promo, really strong from Sami Zayn. So for me, I'm going to give this a 3.5 out of 5. Just great way to bring back Sami Zayn. Next up, we had Elias. Now, Elias, before he came out, did do a backstage video where he talks about, he spoke to the McMahons. They have given him permission to take as long as he wants on the show tonight and give him plenty of time for the rock opera he promised us at WrestleMania. But he comes out, he starts playing, and he starts hitting some lines about John Cena. Obviously, Cena interrupted him at Mania. And getting his ass kicked. And he goes, if any superstar, any legend, even Vince McMahon himself comes out, I will send them to hell. He starts rapping, then he talks about the Dead Man, and next thing we know, who else but the Dead Man himself, the Undertaker, returns to Raw. Surprise, surprise. This was the shock of the night for me. The crowd just went mental. I was like, no way, they brought Taker back for the Raw after Mania, have they? He comes out. Elias is just absolutely shocked. It's like this best bit is, it's the Undertaker gets into the ring. Elias decides he's getting out of the ring. Then he decides, no, I'm going to stay. Elias looks at him, walks closer and closer, and then it looks like he's going to walk away. And then he goes for the Undertaker. Undertaker, one big boot to the face, and then it's a choke slam, and then it's a tombstone, and then the crowd just went mental. Fantastic way to interrupt Elias's moments. Again, we've had 2 back-to-back brilliant interruptions from Cena and Undertaker. I loved it. I loved this whole segment. I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5 because the fanboy in me just didn't expect to see Undertaker return on the Raw after Mania. This moves us on to the main event of the night. Winner takes all. Kofi Kingston, the WWE Champion, taking on Seth freaking Rollins, the Universal Champion. My God. This match was built up all night, like I stated. Like I said, I was really interested to see how they were going to swerve, how they were going to have this match end in no contest. The match did start. Kofi and Seth had a bit back and forth, both men looking quite strong on each other for about, I would say, 5 minutes. 5-7 minutes. Then the match was interrupted by none other than Cesaro and Sheamus. They attacked Kofi Kingston. The match was called off straight away, ending in no contest, which I would have thought, hold on, Kofi won by DQ, so shouldn't he be the Universal Champion? But apparently not. Referee just calls off the whole match. Kofi and Seth do beat down the bar. They go off. The crowd are going mental at this point. They're like, what the hell? We expected either a title match, you know, like a winner takes all title match, or we have like a big call up from NXT who attack them. Like I was expecting Undisputed Era by this point, but no, it was the bar. Kofi and Seth put a challenge onto the bar. They have a tag team match against it. The match itself is decent. All four competitors are great wrestlers in their own right, but like someone stated, this wouldn't have been good enough for even a house show, so why is it good enough for the main event of Raw? But I can see where the writers are going for this. They needed to protect both Kofi and Seth Rollins at this point without them losing the titles. I understand that it could have easily been someone like Baron Corbin or Drew McIntyre who interrupted their match, or a new team from NXT who've been called up, but no, they went for this route. Makes sense. The Bar are pure heels anyway, and they are one of the best tag teams in the company, but it's just felt a bit out of a letdown. I can understand why the crowd were chanting bullshit for a while, but I enjoyed it. I still enjoyed Kofi and Seth's chemistry in the ring. They did win, by the way. Kofi hit the Trouble in Paradise, and then Seth hit the stomp onto Cesaro, getting the victory. Both men holding their titles. Just looked a really good way to end the show. Now that was the end of the show, and I am going to talk about, I'm going to give a score to it, but there was a bit at the end. There was like a 9-minute bit which was recorded and uploaded onto WWE.com, but I'm going to talk about it now because it was important. They called out Dean Ambrose. Seth called out, after his match, he called out Roman. Roman came out, he called out Dean, and they wanted to thank Dean Ambrose for everything. They talked about how they arrived at the Barclays Center together as the Shield, and they just wanted to, that match, that brawl against Bobby Lashley was no way to say goodbye to Dean Ambrose, so they wanted to do that. It made, again, like I stated, I'm not sure if Dean is staying or not. With the brawl with Bobby Lashley, it made it feel like he wasn't going to go, but this afterwards, but then posting it online was interesting. Like, Seth and Roman thanked Dean for everything he had done. It felt like this was Dean's final show. Dean cut a hell of a promo. He did swear. I think he just didn't care by this point. But he did cut a fantastic promo thanking the fans and everyone. And then they celebrate together as the Shield. Great way to. That was a perfect way to send off Dean Ambrose. If that is his, this is it. That's his time in WWE done. Great way to send it off. But what am I gonna score WWE? The Raw after Mania. I just loved it. I loved the whole show. So I'm gonna give this a 3 out of 5 for Raw itself. It was so much fun, so entertaining. Yes, there was a bullshit ending by the end, but who cares? Everything else was so much fun. Undertaker's surprise return, Sami Zayn, brilliant Intercontinental title match against Finn Balor. Just the possibility of Bobby Roode and Chad Gable turning heel, just always fun. So like I said, it's a 3 out of 5 for me for Raw after Mania. I can't wait to see what SmackDown brings to us. But what was your favourite part of Raw? Leave it in the comments below, guys. If you do like our videos, don't forget to like, subscribe and press that bell to keep notified. And And if you want to follow us on the old Twitter, it's at Smack Talk YouTube. If you want to follow me on the old Twitter, it's at Boyze88. And I'll see you guys next time on Smack Talk Wrestling Review.